Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country, powered by Backcourt Marketing. Eric Cohen, Shane Dale, and our special guest, JohnWallStreet himself, Corey Leff. After an awesome Arizona win over UCLA for the first time since 2018 and the first time at McKale Center since 2016, 76-66 final. Guys, Corey, I'll start with you. It's got to feel good. A relief. Finally, we beat the Bruins again.
Totally. I certainly felt a little bit of pressure after last week. We've had such a magical season to this point. The expectations have gotten so high. I certainly didn't want to come out of this one or really this weekend in general without certainly one win, preferably a pair of wins. So feeling real good after getting the first one tonight.
So Shane, what's amazing is the line came out last night for this game, and Arizona was favored by 6.5, and I'm like,
oh yeah. I'm going to hear all about that, Eric, because I tweeted yesterday. How in the world is Arizona favored by 7?
No, Shane, I'm not going to give you crap for this one.
Well, a lot of people already have, and they're going to continue to. I'm just saying.
But you would think that the lines makers know something. I would have if you had asked me to play the line. I had the over line. I lost by a few points, but I would have taken UCLA with the points. I mean, 6.5. What did they know that we didn't?
Yeah, Eric, I might have been a little biased because I went to I was at the ASU game on Saturday, and thanks one more time for the tickets. And it was good to be back in McKale, but they look terrible on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, they look good. I think last week they looked okay on defensively against UCLA, but they just couldn't. They looked out of sync. They couldn't hit their outside shots. They couldn't get the ball in low. First half, all those problems it's like they never happened. They were dominating, and then you started to see some of that resurface toward the end of the game, and that's when they relied on their defense and specifically their bigs. I love having Koloko and Ballo out there at the same time. They made so many big plays toward the end of this game with offensive rebounds, blocked and altered shots, hit some free throws. They missed some early in the game. A lot of Wildcats missed some early in the game, but those two guys in the second half or in the last few minutes were huge. And I think they just wear guys out and they break their spirits. And those two guys, the last several games, have been massive. Even in losses, they've been often the two of the best players on the court. So I think we've also learned and I didn't realize maybe until tonight, Eric, just how important it is to have a healthy Tabellis on the floor.
Oh, but Shane, he didn't play at the end of the game, and nor did Mathurin. I mean, Mathurin. I thought that Tommy Lloyd's lineup patterns at the end of the game were baffling. You have your best player on the bench, and you have probably your second best player on the bench too.
I'm wondering go ahead, Corey. Go ahead.
No, I was wondering the same thing, and I wonder how much of the decision to go with Koloko and Ballo was due to the fact that UCLA had been getting so many offensive rebounds and so many easy buckets in the paint in the second half, and almost like Tommy said, "Hey, listen, we're gonna play defense, and we'll figure out how to score buckets on the offensive side." And so they brought in the two bigs, and Tabellis went to the bench, and you kind of give up offense for defense. And it seemed like for a while there that maybe it was going to be the wrong decision, but we ended up getting enough stops and those
but how do you bench Ben Mathurin he's your best player. The guy's a stud. Why are you benching him at the end of the game? And yet it worked. I don't understand. How do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know why Mathurin was on the bench. I felt like Larson played a lot of minutes, particularly in the second half. I'm with you. The lineups were not particular. I shouldn't say that. We struggled to hit shots too, right? Like they went 1 of 8 or 1 of 9 at one point. If they hit a couple of shots in there, we're probably not having the same discussion about the struggles on the offensive end.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point. And then, I tweeted a couple times about Kirk Kriisa. I love that guy, and then I hate that guy, and then I love him again. It changes every single minute. He takes a stupid shot or tries to draw a stupid foul, and then he hits a shot he has no business taking in the first place. And the guy's such a punk, and I love him. I would hate him. I would hate him so much if he played for anyone else.
Him if that guy was on ASU. How much would you hate him?
A lot, but he would never play for ASU. He's too good. But he helped set the tone early in that game with some big shots. Arizona smacked UCLA. We knew UCLA was going to make a run. They're too good to go quietly. Okay. And Arizona missed some free throws. I mean, it was a 12-point lead at halftime. It could have been 20 if they had hit some of their or close to 20 if they had hit some of their free throws. So UCLA got back in the game, and then I think Tommy Lloyd recognized the situation. Look, we're sort of wilting again on offense. We're doing what we've done the last couple of games. We need to go back to what's worked the last couple of games and grind it out. Have those two bigs on the floor. Why Mathurin wasn't on the court, I don't know. I'm sure we're recording this right after the game. For those listening to the podcast. I'm sure Tommy Lloyd addressed it or is addressing it right now. To Bellis, he wasn't on the court at the end of the ASU game either. So I don't know if it's an injury issue or they're trying to limit his minutes or what. But that was huge. And maybe the other consideration is you got another game in 2 days, another game 2 days after that. So we'll see. But huge win. Good chance Arizona and UCLA are going to meet at least one more time, maybe two more times. I didn't realize that Arizona had lost 6 straight to UCLA. I didn't realize that until tonight that it was a 6.
Hadn't won it at McKale, since 2016. I want to talk about a couple players. I want to go player specific here. Corey, I'll start with you. Let's talk about Pelle Larsson. 12 points, 8 rebounds, and as you said, he's in at the end of the game over Mathurin. I mean, this guy. I know he started off the season slow, but he's really picked it up. We'll go player by player, but I just want to start there.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly has some range, right? And can help spread the floor. He's got a little bit of size. I think Larsson is a nice player. I don't want to see him out there in place of Mathurin, though. And as much as I know you guys are fans of playing Ballo and Koloko next to each other or together, and certainly it gives us tremendous size advantage over most teams. It really limits us on the offensive end.
I agree.
And then we start settling for.
But he's a great shooter, though. He's a great shooter. Larson's one of the best.
Larson's a great shooter. Yeah. We're talking about two totally different things. Yeah. No, totally.
No,
Larsson is a great shooter.
Yeah, with Ballo and Koloko, I think it was a matter of Tommy Lloyd just recognizing the situation and saying, look, we need to find some. We're going to win this game with defense. We need to find a way to hold on. We need some guys who are going to give us second opportunities, who are going to alter shots down low. And I think that's why he went. I don't know why specifically Mathurin wasn't on the court. Right. But I think that Koloko and Ballo were out there for the same reason they were out there late in the ASU game, is because he recognized the situation and said, okay, this isn't working anymore. Here's what has worked for us the last couple of games, and we're going to try to preserve the victory like that. And it worked.
All right, Shane, I get to ask you about, we've talked with Matt Muehlbach, Mr. Triple-Double. Well, Dalen Terry came real close tonight. 10 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. His impact just on both sides of the floor. I mean, this guy, probably my favorite player to watch in the Wildcats this year.
Yeah, that very, very Andre Iguodala line from Dalen Terry. Not quite the same player, but the stat line was similar. Yeah, when he's distributing the ball, and there was this stat, I forget who had it, and I apologize to the person who sent me this, because they had a great list of glue guys, like the top glue guys. I know you like using that term with Sam Thomas, Eric, the glue of the women's team. Dalen Terry is definitely the glue of the men's team. I forget what the metrics are, but basically rating the best glue guys in college basketball, and Dalen Terry was way up there. And if he's making his shots, or if he's dishing out assists, and he's not turning the ball over, Arizona's very tough to beat. And he did a little bit of everything. I think for the first half, the first 20 minutes of this game, you saw everything that Arizona did right offensively throughout the season. UCLA made some adjustments. Arizona didn't adjust well. Some of the shots that were falling, my only criticism when Arizona plays well offensively is they tend to get a little bit into this hero ball thing. And then when shots stop falling, they're kind of reluctant to get out of it, and they're kind of stubborn to a point.
Well, what I hated though, Shane, is when they got the lead in the second half, they started sitting on the ball, and that's not Arizona's style.
Yeah, true.
The Wildcats, you got to go at it. You got to. I mean, go to the rim. That's your game. And they kept holding it. And they kept taking awful shots at the end of the game. And fortunately, Creasa made one that was a terrible shot, and that's probably why. I mean, that was the dagger, as Dave Pash said on TV. But it was a terrible shot. Like, that was just an awful possession.
Shane, I think you hit the nail on the head. In the first half, when Arizona was really rolling, they were getting easy buckets, and they were getting threes, kind of in the flow of the offense. And that's when the team is great. When they get stuck in the half court and they're settling for long threes is kind of when we fall into these droughts. And so, a bit frustrating for me watching the game, saying, "Hey, listen, we got Tabella sitting on the bench, and we need to go inside and get buckets." And I think those two things are probably, there's a correlation there between our inability to get the ball inside late and him sitting on the bench.
I think what Arizona learned tonight, Corey, and I think this is massive going forward, is that they learned that they can win in other ways. They can win when those shots aren't flowing, when their offense is out of sync. They got smacked in the mouth at UCLA, and they just looked lost. And that kind of carried over to the ASU game. And now I think they've learned, okay, when everything's not flowing for us offensively, we not only can still win, we can still beat one of the best teams in the country. We can do it other ways. And I think in terms of confidence and just knowing that they can do that, I think this win is massive, even more so than potential NCAA tournament implications in one season, all that. I think this game lets Arizona know, just because we're not in sync offensively doesn't mean we have to panic, doesn't mean we have to wilt under pressure. There are other ways that we can win. And, Arizona's one of the few teams in Ken Palm's top 20 on offense and defense. And they can win. They can win with offense. They beat ASU with defense a few days ago. They won. I think they won the first half with offense, and they held on with defense in the second half.
And that's what I want to talk about, Shane. The third player that I wanted to bring up tonight, and my second favorite player on the team, is Oumar Ballo. 4 points. Okay. 4 offensive rebounds, 4 defensive rebounds is 8 total, and 4 blocks. I mean, this guy is a beast.
Did you guys see that play? It was with a couple minutes left where, Ballo got the block, but if he didn't get the block, Koloko was right there to swat it away too.
I love those two playing together. Yeah.
I don't think that, again, to Corey's point, they don't have to play together all the time, but I think that when Tommy Lloyd looks at the situation and says, look, basketball to a certain extent is a game of chess, and this was the right chess move at the time, was to play those guys together, and it was enough to hold on. Plus Kirk Reese's very fortunate 3, and they made their free throws down the stretch, unlike in the first half.
Yeah, and I think that was key. I mean, the free throw shooting tonight was bad, 20 of 30. I mean, you're not going to win games in the tournament like that. But UCLA only had, I think, 12 free throws, and they weren't that great either. Crazy thing is UCLA 3 of 14 from the three-point line, Arizona 8 of 22. That's probably the difference tonight. 10-point game, 15 more points from the three-point line. UCLA got into foul trouble early. It was an interesting game. I was just looking on Twitter there, guys, and I don't know if you have any insight. Corey, you might have more insight on this. What was going on with Tommy Lloyd and Mick Cronin? Our buddy Jeff Dean says on his radio show tomorrow he's going to have more on that. Did you? What would Mick Cronin have been upset about? Did you see anything like that?
Yeah, Tommy didn't call a late timeout, did he?
No.
Sorry. No, I didn't catch that.
In the first half
was occurring. Yeah, I didn't catch that at all. I know he was upset about a charge foul or a charge first block foul that Kriisa had taken right at one of the timeouts, but I didn't see anything with Lloyd.
Yeah, so we're going to find out about that. That's kind of a story. It seemed like their handshake at the end of the game was fine. So right now, I think the question that I was getting in text messages from friends, Shane, I'll start with you on this one. Is Arizona going forward the team that we saw in the first half or the team that we saw in the second half? Which is the real Arizona?
Well, I think it's both. I think the first half is the one we've seen most of the season, and the second half is the team they're going to have to be when defenses adjust and they play great teams and their shots just aren't falling. I think that's why this win was so important, because it taught Arizona that they can win other ways. They can win with defense. I mean, they've been winning with defense all year, but the offense is really still on the show. When they get 90 points a game, that's what everyone's going to talk about. And again, they held UCLA. Look, they held UCLA to 75 points at Pauley Pavilion. They held them to, what was it, 64 tonight? 66. Okay. You hold UCLA to an average of about 70 points a game. You're doing something right. And the offense, the difference was the offense just wasn't there. And I think that UCLA had a lot to do with that. And I think they adjusted. I think they fed off the home crowd. I would have loved to have been at McKale tonight. Those games are always special, regardless of the records. That's always such a big rivalry and just an electric atmosphere. So I think that Arizona is going to have to adjust at some point when teams adjusted to them. And I think we've seen the beginning. I thought they were going to get there eventually. I didn't think they were going to get there as quickly as tonight, and I'm very, very happy they did.
Were you guys at the game? Bill Walton brought it up. I remember being there. It was my freshman year. Corey, you would have been a sophomore. Shane, I think you would have been a junior. When Arizona played UCLA, they were down by 20 something at halftime and came back. It was in February of 2002. And that was the loudest that I personally have ever heard McKale.
There was at one time early in the Sean Miller era, there was an intro video that we are Arizona, and there was a highlight of the Storm.
Yep. The court. Yep.
And that was, I think, the first and only time I think we stormed the court during my time at Arizona in the early 2000s. And all you see is a backwards green Jets hat, or it's a backwards white hat with a Jets logo, and that's me running right.
Is that right?
Nice. And I would love to get my hands on that video. But yeah, it's I remember is being pressed up against Luke Walton and Isaiah Fox, and they're all sweaty and the court is packed, and
Luke Walton was there again tonight. I guess I get our buddy Jeff Dean was saying he could hear Luke Walton scream foul, or when trying to begging for calls in full coach mode.
It's pretty cool that he was there. That he who was?
Ricky Anderson was there.
Oh yeah,
was he really?
That's who he was sitting with.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh wow, I must have missed that. That's crazy.
Jason was in the building, obviously. There you had a whole bunch of guys from that era.
And the other one we just have to talk about, just because it was posted. Arizona posted it on Twitter. Corey, I know you had graduated by then. I was sitting behind the basket for this one. Shane, I'm not sure if you made it down for that one, but the Salim Stoudemire shot against UCLA.
I was still in town for that.
Were you still in town? Yeah, in 05? I mean, that was epic. You might have been on the floor then, Corey. If you,
I did post game for that game.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I remember, kind of selfishly, at the time, Arizona was regularly winning games by, I remember we played senior day and won by 50 one year. So
yeah,
they were winning games big, and you know how the Arizona fan base is. You win a lot of games by 50, and all of a sudden the phones are dead. Well, ASU plays, UCLA plays Arizona to the buzzer, and Salim hits that shot, and all of a sudden the phone lines are, lighting up for hours. And infinitely easier to do your job.
Oh, you bet. Yeah.
When the game is close.
Shane, let's talk about the McKale Center crowd for a second. You were there on Saturday. Tommy Lloyd always pumping the crowd up. Do you like that? Is that necessary?
No, but I'm fine with it. I love that he gets into it. He did that once during the ASU game too. And the crowd was great. They were getting up on their feet, but one of the few times in the second half they didn't, he urged them to, and they did. So he's using that to his advantage. That's fine. I don't think he's going to have to do that too often. But.
I saw Pat Forty made a comment, something along the lines of, Tommy's trying to do the impossible and get the gray hairs in the lower bowl to stand up. That's certainly been an issue for as long as I've been around the program. So certainly nothing new, but no, I have no problem with the coach trying to get the crowd going.
I think it's great. He's into it. He's passionate about it. I mean, how can you not like Tommy Lloyd at this point? He took over a team that, we thought would be, fringe top 25, and now they are fringe top 5. And we're going, how far can they go in March? When is the last time you've been this excited for a team going into March? Probably 17 with that team that won the Pac-12 tournament and then flamed out by 20 to Buffalo in the first round. I just don't see this team doing it, Shane.
No, I think that team was burned out too. And I remember Bruce Pascoe reporting after they lost to Buffalo, he sensed this a feeling of relief among the team that it was over because of everything that had happened off the court. I think that team might have looked at the Pac-12 title as sort of their culmination of the season, and it was kind of hard to keep things going. And Buffalo was very good, and they couldn't miss, and so that was part of it too. But no, I don't see this team flaming out. I think the chemistry is the difference, one of the big differences in this team as well. I think we talked about that 17-18 team. Were they really that tight-knit a bunch? Did they really like and enjoy each other as much? These guys really seem to be friends and really like each other, and I think that matters. I don't think this team hasn't had the off-court distractions. They play a fun style of basketball, and they play great defense as well. They're just as good on both sides of the floor. So I'm not concerned. Final Four, we'll see. We'll talk about the matchups when we get there. We don't know what seed they're going to be. I think right now they're on the 1-2 cusp probably after beating UCLA, and they got. Look, they got to keep it going. They, celebrate this tonight and then get back and get ready for USC, which is going to be tough. Then going up to Tempe against ASU, and they always like to spoil things. But as far as the tournament, it comes down to matchups so often, so it's really hard to say. But do I think this team is primed for a first round upset like the 17-18 team? I really doubt it at this point.
All right, my unpopular opinion, then I'll get to you, Corey. Still think UCLA is my pick to win the national championship. As of right now.
They're tough, and they didn't shoot well.
And they're tournament tested. Yeah.
And they didn't shoot well tonight. right?
They were still right there.
Yeah. And they were right there at the end. So that's certainly they're a tough team. For me, it's not the 2017 team. It's the 2015 team that had the most excitement, for the last team with the most excitement for me, because it had all the pieces, right? The 2017 team, they had Ayton, and so maybe we had the biggest player, arguably the most dominant player at that point, certainly coming off the Pac-12 tournament. Yeah. But it was the 2015 team where we really had all the pieces, right? Where we had, the strong point guard, where we had, an electric wing, where we had, a 7-foot big, where we kind of had all the pieces that you kind of, when you put a basketball team together, you look for, and I think that this team most resembles that team, not the 2017 team.
And to your point, Corey, we had Ted Robinson on earlier in the week on our podcast this week, and I asked him, what's a big difference between, good teams that move on in March and those who get upset early, and he said one of the big things is point guard play. Having that point guard, and Kirk Risa, again, he's love him or hate him guy. I love him and hate him both, as a Wildcat fan. But when he's on, he leads the Pac-12 in assists. He's got the swagger, and when he's making shots, Arizona's tough to beat. So yeah.
Well, the other thing is experience, right? The 2017 team's best player was a freshman. The 2015 team's best, it was full of juniors and seniors. So you have, it's a different dynamic. This is a mature team. This is a team that's played a lot of games together now. And this is a team that has all of the components to win. It's going to take, I genuinely believe that, unless we run into a buzzsaw like Buffalo, where somebody shoots, 25 of 35 from three.
Yeah, that's the thing. You never know.
That could always happen. But if they don't run into that, they're going to be a very tough out.
Yeah.
Well, I want to give a quick plug to our sponsor, Backcourt Marketing. Always appreciate them supporting Wildcat Country. Check them out, backcourtmarketing.com, or on Twitter at backcourtmktg. As Shane and I always do on the podcast, we do buy or sell in the first segment. So I want to do a quick lightning round of buy or sell. Shane, I'm going to start with you on this one. I said on the show this week that I think the USC game on Saturday is a trap game. After watching the UCLA game and the second half in particular, are you buying or selling that statement?
I'm going to sell in the sense that I don't think it could be a trap game, because USC is a top 25 team. I know they've been struggling a bit lately, and I haven't seen the ASU.
They haven't started yet.
They haven't started yet. I would be shocked if, you're listening to this after the fact, you can shame me, but I would be shocked if ASU gave them a hard time. But USC struggling right now. It's hard not to, all the emotion, it's hard to replicate that probably just 2 days later. In a way, I kind of wish that USC was before UCLA. But trap game, I think in order for it to be a trap game, I think USC would have to be like a 500 team. And so, no, I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be any letdown. I think it's just a matter of getting that intensity back in time for the USC game. And I think that's where McKale Center is going to come in handy, and they're going to need to be just as loud as they were for the UCLA game.
And Corey, your turn for buy or sell. On this week's show, I also said that I thought Arizona would go 5-0 between the men's and the women's teams. UCLA, USC, ASU with the men, Oregon State with the women. Are you buying or selling 5-0 at this point?
I think you have to buy, right? This was the game that you have the most concern about. I'm with Shane. I think that I don't see Saturday as a trap game. I feel like coming into this weekend, Arizona felt like at home they had to get both. ASU on Monday night is, underwhelming, I would say, from a competition standpoint. So I certainly don't see the men's team losing, and the women are rolling as well. So I'm certainly buying.
All right. While we have you both here, I want to divert from basketball for a second. This is my bonus question. I always throw it off the cuff here. John Wilner, Pac-12 insider, tweeted that tomorrow could be a very newsy day in the Pac-12. To me, and I think a lot of people, that means Herm Edwards.
Yeah.
Corey, do you know anything? What's your take? Is Herm Edwards going to last at ASU?
I mean, there's no way he can, right? 5 assistants have already stepped down. Pierce, who was kind of the mastermind and the guy behind it all, stepped down yesterday. I can't see any way Herm. They finished last in the.
That's your boy Herm, by the way. That's your guy Herm.
That is not my boy.
Oh yeah,
I'm not a Herm fan. Just in general, yeah, I think Herm's time in ASU has run its course, and I would be very surprised to see him on the field in September.
Shane, who's coaching ASU at the first game next year?
Oh gosh, I don't know who. Well, it'd be interesting to see who's going to want the job at this point.
Well, they got Marvin Lewis and Brian Billick on the staff.
Right,
just want to point that out.
One of those guys. Yeah, but Herm brought both those guys on, so I don't know. It's just the whole thing is bizarre in terms of how it's sort of, it sort of dominoed upwards from the position coaches to the coordinators, and now we're looking at the head coach. And if Herm's out, does it stop there? Is Ray Anderson next? So it's just kind of weird that the way that it's all going. And I was a little surprised that Ray Anderson decided to keep Herm Edwards next season to begin with. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be because I know they're buddies, but I thought there was going to be something like, oh yeah, Herm, he's getting up there in age. He wants to enjoy his retirement now, et cetera. But they didn't do that. And so as much as I thought that he's going to stick it out, I think Corey's right at this point. I don't know how he continues. I just don't.
I don't either. All right, last one for Corey here. You had a famous babysitter, for those who don't know, as a kid. He now happens to be the head coach of the Arizona Wildcats football team in Jed Fish. Just your thoughts on the enthusiasm that this program has right now, number 1 in the Pac-12 in recruiting. How excited are you for 2022?
Beyond, as excited as I am about basketball, I can't wait for the fall to get here. Just the Delora pickup for me changes everything, right?
Yep.
Because they had brought in a lot of nice pieces. They were going to be better at wide receiver, and there was going to be more talent really just around the whole offense. But there were still obviously a lot of questions whether McLeod would be healthy, who would be the quarterback. Now we have a legit Pac-12 quarterback that is going to enter camp. I would be surprised if he's not, the winner of that competition. And I think that changes everything, right? I mean, how much a quarterback means in football. And I certainly don't expect to be in the basement next year. I expect this to look a lot more like the kind of we've talked about it before. This feels and has felt for some time a lot like the early Stoops era. Mm-hmm. And if you remember the early Stoops days, there was 1 or 2 games every year where we'd knock off a top 10 team. They'd be 4-8, but they'd knock off a top 10 team, whether that was Cal or UCLA. They beat Oregon one year. And that's all before Arizona started to really get it going on offense in the kind of the late 2000s. So, I'm really excited. I think that Arizona is going to surprise a lot of people. And I certainly think that, when this all shakes out with ASU, it would not surprise me at all if Arizona finishes on top of Arizona State next year.
Oh,
final recruiting standings, guys, for 2022. Pac-12, Arizona number 1, ASU number 12.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
But that's why they can't keep Herm, right?
No.
Even if you believe he has nothing to do with the scandal that's kind of going on there, the recruiting scandal that's going on there, that there's so much baggage that's hanging over the program. It's the same thing that we've seen on the basketball side, right? Yeah. Until you kind of clean house and put it behind you and take that next step forward, which is tough to do because nobody wants to issue a postseason ban. Nobody wants to have to start over. Nobody wants players to transfer out. And so a lot of times you drag this thing on longer than it should. But until they kind of clean house and reset everything, the recruiting isn't going to get better. And so I don't think ASU has any choice.
And what's interesting, sorry, Eric, what's interesting, Corey, is you talk about, because Arizona usually is good for at least one upset a year when they're not good. They almost had one last year against Utah.
Yeah.
And Eric was at that game and you just missed the one win, of course.
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, shocker.
But they led Utah at halftime and they hung with them for 4 quarters. So yeah, I think that hopefully next season they get a big top 25 upset, and the year after that they would be the upset. and that we were talking about them in the top 20. Is it going to happen that soon? I don't know. Like Jetfish said, it's easier to get from 1-11 to 6-6 than 6-6 to 11-1. I don't think 6-6 is that far away at this point.
Nope.
I don't know about next season, maybe the year after that, but then the big test about getting Arizona back to where they were toward the end of the Mike Stoops era is going to be the next big challenge for Jetfish.
Well, it's February 3rd right now, and we have a lot to look forward to in the next 2 months with Arizona basketball. For those of you who are just tuning in and did not catch the game tonight, which is probably a very small minority of you, 76-66, Arizona over UCLA, the Wildcats' first top 5 win since 2017, which is amazing. Corey, before we go, will you please plug JohnWallStreet and the Sportico platform?
Yeah, write a daily sports finance newsletter that is read by kind of the who's who of the sports and entertainment and media ecosystem, team owners, media execs, private equity guys. You can check it out. You can sign up for the free daily newsletter at Sportico.com has the link. It's called the John Wall Street newsletter, and you can sign up there. You can find me at Howie Longshort on Twitter, and I can direct you to the link if you can't find it.
And we call him John Stradamus because he often has some breaking Wildcat news as well. So make sure you follow him for that too.
And don't forget to check out this past week's Wildcat Country I've had 2 people, Shane, say it was their favorite interview that we've done yet with Ted Robinson.
That's fun. Yeah.
It's great. And we thought so as we got off the air. It was one of our best. So,
and we had Chip Hale as well.
Yeah. And Chip Hale was a great one with you and him as well. I'm sorry I couldn't make that one. But Corey, thanks for joining us. For Corey Leff, Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Big night tonight. And as always, bear down.
Bear down.